I'm excited to be able to share this information with people. And one of the things that you mentioned to me the first time we met was that you have these 8 common myths or misunderstandings that you like to talk to people about. And I thought, let's do a deep dive into those. And we're gonna see how many we can get through today, maybe just one or two, and talk more about those. So the first one is I make too much money. I'm not going to qualify for financial aid. If the two of us had a dollar for every time we've heard that statement, right?
Yeah, we'd be millionaires.
Yeah.
I think that there is a perception out there that we either make too much money and we're not going to get financial aid, which is going to hinder our ability to pay for school, or we were even on the farther end of the spectrum. We don't have enough money and we're not going to be able to pay for school. And I think that what folks first need to do, parents first need, is to really sit down and do a financial comparison as to what their tolerance is going to be able to pay for school. In higher ed, it's very interesting. We find out what the sticker price is. We hope to apply for financial aid. We hope to bring that net price down, and then we're willing to pay it. We don't do that when we buy a home. We don't do that when we buy a car. We don't even do it when we buy a new sofa for the living room. We look at whether we can afford it and how much it's going to cost us along the way. But the unfortunate side of the system is designed to tell students and families to go search, visit, fall in love, and yeah, we'll figure that out at the end. And to figure it out at the other end is how to pay for it. Mine is to reverse that and put it in the front. Financial aid is just one vehicle that we use. Hopefully we've saved some money along the way. Hope we have some resources to tap into, like investments or a second home, or our monthly income, disposable income, and I'll come back to this as an example in a second. Or we do need to turn to financial aid and scholarships along the way. I know of customers I've worked with who have six-figure salaries, high six-figure salaries, who have zero need under the financial aid formula because they do make a lot of money. But the key is, or the other missing link is the schools that students are applying to and looking at. Case one, I make too much money. I don't have any need. I'm not going to get any financial aid, or I'm not going to get a need-based grant out of the school. And my son or daughter is applying to a school where they're oversubscribed in applications for seats available. You do the math. That's what happens in the mortgage industry over the last couple of years. Homes were available. People were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars more than the price of the home because they wanted the home. It's a seller's market versus a buyer's market. But there are hundreds and thousands of schools in the system, outstanding institutions that even today are going to be looking for students to enroll who will invest in that particular family who may not have any quote unquote financial need. And the other is the individual who doesn't have any money, who is going to be dependent on financial aid, which is what it's there for. Pell Grants, low interest student loans, state grants from the states that students live in, scholarships that are available for those that are looking at need and merit. Those schools that students are looking at, they're going to also provide some resources. So it's, to me, to some degree, or a great deal of it, is not only just worrying about the financial aid side of it, it's the fit that the school that the students are looking at and whether they're looking for students. Small pebble, big pond, or big pebble, small pond. And that is part of step one of college planning, is exposing students to the different types of schools that are out there. So I have a 10th grade family that comes into my life. I say, one of the things you'd be doing in the 10th grade is going and visiting schools, not to take grandiose tours, but just look at the different types of schools and where they are. And at the same time, look at your academics, look at your testing skills, look at your writing skills, use an academic coach if you need. That's someone outside of my lane. But do the number crunching to find out what your financial aid requirement would be or what your net price at these schools would be for a 10th grade. Don't wait until the senior year, because some of the biggest debt that's come along is because now in April of a student's senior year, we've picked the school, we're falling in love, and you're looking at your student, your daughter or son, and the tears are rolling down their eyes because now you realize, oh my God, it's going to be a $40,000 private loan that we're going to have to take out. So now we're looking at $230,000 in total debt to go to this school. Well, how can we say no? People tap into their investments. They tap into their 401 retirement. Financial aid is a process. Financial aid applications, known as the FAFSA, is an application that families are doing right now to be able to find out Where does need-based aid fit into the entire mathematical calculation of how much we have to pay to go to school? But it doesn't matter how much you make, too much or too less. It does matter what schools you're looking at and whether you have the capability to finance that particular school. And I think that we're a society of listening to each other's to a great deal, and that's fine. And people, especially on Facebook, God love Facebook, but on Facebook, there's a lot of people that are putting out there how wonderful their lives are, and that's great. But there are a lot of people that are struggling too. So separate yourself from that, run some numbers, get your kids to know what schools they really might be interested in, and begin the process.
So one of the things that you said that really resonates with me is there's a reason why every car on the road is not a Maserati.
Yeah.
And a couple of those reasons are if you're a young mother and you've got 4 kids under 4, you can't fit them in that car. If you're a general contractor, you can't get your toolbox in the car. So there's a lot of reasons why that car would not be a good fit. But I see too many students and parents make that emotional decision about where they want to go to school with these Gucci names of colleges that are not a good fit. High school in this country is compulsory. It's a very linear path. All students follow the same path through high school, but college is all over the place. It's not a linear path, but students tend to think that there's a linear path based on my worth, which is equal to the name brands of the schools that I get accepted into. And that's the biggest myth that I'm trying to shatter. Parents and students should be doing what you're advising and looking at the numbers and the options and finding out that they should be looking for a couch that fits their family room.
If a parent, and this is a challenge or a charge I have for a parent to be able to develop and continue to develop the authenticity of their students so that they fit their academic profile, their personal, their emotional, their social profile as they're looking at their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to be launching into what's going to happen in the 13th year, whether it's college, it's work, or it's a combination of both. But to be able to realize that on that authentic student that we've spent so much time raising and developing, and putting our blood, sweat, and tears, and driving them to school, to dance, to football, to social events. All right. That translates into finding the right place for them to go to school and to be able to go to a social event or a business event or sit in the office on a day-to-day or do virtual work if you're virtual, and to be able to look at a peer, grandparents, relatives, friends, and colleagues with great celebration in their face and their voice and say, my son or daughter is going to X. My son and daughter is going to Y. Whether it's an elite Ivy League 4-year school, or it's an outstanding second tier college, or it's community college, or they're taking a gap year. That is an emotional hurdle, our mountain that we have climbed, and we're able to stand on the top and wave our flag because we're doing it for ourselves and our kids, not for the numbers that high schools want to be able to put out on their pages, not for the numbers that schools want, colleges want to be able to put out in their selectivity rates. The only way some schools become highly selective is they encourage more applications that they can deny. And now, if you've been reading the things that are going on with U.S. News and Report, Washington Monthly posting, it is really coming out, not that it's any secret, that these organizations, these schools pay marketing money to be able to get to be number 2 or number 5 or number 10.
Exactly.
So, and we have to step back, and it does revolve back into paying for college because we get sucked into this process of not really stepping back and saying, early in the process, you can't do this in April of the senior year when we've already done all the work and it's time for the tiers. You got to do it in middle school. You got to do it in 9th and 10th grade, 11th grade, when really the rubber's hitting the road. And you've got to be able to say, okay, this is where we're going, wide-eyed. I love Al Jarreau. He's a musician. He has a song called The World of Possibilities. We have to be able to help our kids and ourselves realize that there's a world of possibilities out there. And for us as the authentic family, for us, this is for the O'Hare family, the O'Hare child. I don't give a bleep about the others, but I want to do the right thing. It does play into the whole paying for college, because if we get sucked into it, then we're going to be paying too much. Now, I don't want to have a father, especially, say, you're only going to go to a state school because that's it. When I was in high school years ago, my dad said to me, I'll buy you a car or you go to state school. That was the deal. I didn't want to go to the state school and I already had a beat up VW. I didn't need another car. So let's figure out another path. That's not the alternative. That's threatening the alternative. So we have to have a wide mind. I think if families start early enough, 10th grade, 11th grade especially, to start running the numbers of what they have saved, what they don't, what their gap is, what their tolerance is, and then get into the financial aid process and the scholarship process, it's going to be a much stressful process to be dealing with. FAFSA is an application. It's a tool that you complete and use. It's not something that controls your lives. The outcome and the schools that are going to be looking at it, and the schools that want students, that's what's controlling the process. The application itself is a 30-minute, a 45-minute exercise in providing information pertaining to a student and a family's financial situation. And there's a lot of resources out there to help people complete it and complete it accurately.
Yeah, and actually, you and I have talked about doing a completely separate video just on FAFSA because of the changes this year. So we'll touch on that another time. So that's the first common myth or misunderstanding. Let's talk about number two. Number two is only the top students in the class get into their dream